What's up guys, this is Coaster Visuals, and this is the first video in a series where I'll be ranking my top favorite coasters in every European country I've visited. Most of these are probably going to be top 10 lists, but this country has so many great rides that I feel like 15 was more appropriate. This is Germany, and it's what I consider to have the most high quality collection of roller coasters in any European country. I've visited all the country's multiple major parks multiple times, and I've ridden all the really good rides in this country, so I feel like I have a great idea for what my favorites are and which ones I don't like so much. So starting off with a few notes, this list is only going to include permanent coasters and not include portable roller coasters. So Olympia Looping and Alpina Bahn are not going to be on this list. These are great rides, but these coasters move all over the place. Like, I've ridden Olympia Looping in Austria as well, so I think for this list it made more sense to just focus on the permanent coasters in the country. Another thing is, you won't see Arthur on this list, so I rank this ride really highly, but I rank it high because it's a great dark ride, not because it's like an amazing coaster or anything. So, I love this ride, but I feel like this list, I think it makes more sense to focus on coasters that focus on thrills and not theming like this ride does. But I definitely would recommend this ride, and it's one that I think is awesome. So, without further ado, let's start the list. First up at number 15 is Euromir. This is a Mock Rides prototype spinning coaster, and while it may not be the tallest or fastest, I really found myself laughing through most of the ride. It starts off with a really long spiral lift with one of the best soundtracks of any coaster. You then do some scenic turns before the ride really gets going. Depending on what row you're in, you may end up forwards or backwards through most of the layout, and going backwards is just hilarious. This is a coaster that's just pure fun, and it put a smile on my face every ride. Definitely ride this soon if you're going to Europa Park, because it sounds like it may be going away soon, which is pretty sad because I feel like there's nothing quite else like this coaster, and it's a very unique ride that the whole family can enjoy, and thrill seekers will find it fun as well. So definitely big fan of Euromir, and a great coaster to start off this list with. Next up at number 14 is Flug von Novgorod. So this Gerstlauer Eurofighter is really unique, and it's really like a combination of a coaster and a dark ride. It starts off with a dark ride scene before going into a really punchy launch, and you immediately go into an airtime hill with great ejector airtime. After that, the rest of the layout features a wave turn, a butterfly turnaround, and a heartline roll, before you head back inside for a really cool surprise finale. The combination of great coaster elements, steep drops, and a well-themed story really make this one stand out for me. Even the exit is really well-themed. It's themed like a maze while you're exiting, and they have a slide in the exit too, so it's really unique. Hansa Park just really goes above and beyond to make their coasters super unique and well-themed, and it really stands out here. So the next coaster on this list is really masterful when it comes to terrain use and carving its way through the rockwork, and that's Black Mamba at Phantasialand. So this B&M inverted coaster opened all the way back in 2006, but it's seriously one of the best B&M inverts out there. The use of terrain is fantastic, and flying all around through the area they've created is just amazing. There's lots of whippy inversions, intense turns, some good drops, and then the brake run for this coaster ends in the pitch dark, which makes it really disorienting. Overall, this just has a lot of good sustained forces, and it's really relentless start to finish. Definitely one of the best rides at Phantasialand, and definitely deserving of a top 15 spot. Next up at number 12 is Silver Star. So this B&M hypercoaster actually seems to get a lot of hate from enthusiasts, but I found this ride to be really good every time, and I feel like it's really good at what it does. Maybe it's because it's been cold every visit I've had to the park, so the trims are not hitting as hard, but the thing really flies through the layout, and the ending has some really strong airtime moments. There's 3 moments of ejector airtime at the end, and it does this cool S-bend into the brake run, which makes for a really memorable finale. I really like this coaster, and I think it's definitely one of the stronger B&M hypers out there, and it deserves more love. So definitely deserves the number 12 spot on this list. Alright, so number 11 is a one that no one's going to probably agree with me. But this is Bandit at Movie Park Germany. I think this coaster is hilarious. I love this ride. I got 4 rides on it my last trip. And you really need to ride it in the front row. In the back row, it's not as intense, but the front row, it's really crazy in the valleys, and you get shoved into the airtime hills. The bouncing on the valleys is so hilarious and funny, and some of the profiling on the turns is just really wonky. The first half of the ride does have some good airtime and it really shoves you into the hills. This coaster runs old Premier Rides trains, which get a really lot of hate from enthusiasts, but honestly, I didn't mind these trains. I feel like as long as you hold the lap bar up, which was pretty easy to do, I didn't get stapled, and I got some good airtime, and the whole thing is just hilarious. Definitely, if you don't like rough rides, you're not going to like it, but if you think bouncing and, like, janky stuff is hilarious like I do, you'll probably love this coaster. So, definitely give this a ride when you go to Movie Park. It's a great ride. Next up is Free Shoots. So this is a Mauer X-Car coaster. And normally I'm really not a fan of Mauer, but this coaster is awesome. It's really, really punchy, and it's not very tall either, so it's shockingly intense for its size. It starts off with a launch right out of the station into an inverted top hat, which gives some surprisingly good hang time. Next you have a vertical loop and a really tight sustained turn, which will make you gray out. There's then 2 0G rolls and a couple more really intense turns, and the 0G rolls are very whippy and tight. This may not be the most complete coaster, but the thing about this ride is the power is insane from start to finish. So, even though it may not be the most complete ride, I still think it's one of the most memorable the country has to offer, and it's definitely deserving of a high spot on this list. Next up is my favorite coaster at Tripsdrill. It stands out for its great standout elements like the top hat and the launch and the stall loop, and that's Carajo. This is a Gerstlauer Infinity coaster. I really like this coaster model. The lap bars are very comfortable and the trains are really open. This ride has some great standout moments, particularly, like I said, the launch and the top hat, and then the dive loop at the end is fantastic. It has a really great ending with this awesome dive loop into a corkscrew. There are some lulls, like there is kind of a drawn-out turn towards the middle, but the standout elements on this ride speak for themselves, and it makes it my favorite coaster at Tripsdrill. Next up at number 8, we have El Toro, and not the one you're thinking of at Great Adventure. This is at Frietzepark Ploh in Germany, and this is a real hidden gem. This honestly feels a lot more unique than the country's other GCI wooden coaster and wood and timber coaster, which doesn't even crack the top 15. The terrain use in this is really good, and I feel like this has a lot more airtime moments than some other GCIs. You're really out of your seat for half the ride. There's also a surprising amount of lateral moments and some flat turns that really pin you to the side, which is uncharacteristic for this manufacturer. I kept wanting to come back for more on this coaster, and I really enjoyed it, and I think it's a real hidden gem and something not to miss while you're traveling through Germany. This next one is truly a unique ride, and it's another wooden coaster located at Heidepark in Germany. This is Colossus, and it's the original Intamin prefab Woody, and in my opinion, it runs a lot better than some of the later versions of this ride type. The restraints on this one are much more comfortable than those in El Toro. I find it a lot easier to get room, and the restraints just feel more comfortable overall. The sustained airtime in the beginning is really great, and I actually like the ending on this ride a lot. I prefer it to the ending on El Toro because all 4 of the bunny hills on the end give great airtime, and I prefer that over the switchback finale. The theming piece at the end is also really cool. There's a giant tree monster that feels like he's going to eat the train, and that's really cool. So, this ride is really smooth, and it almost feels more like an Intamin mega coaster, like Expedition G-Force, but it does have a little bit of character that makes it feel like a wooden. So, that makes it stand out to me and is worthy of a number 7 spot on this list. Alright, so this next coaster is one that a lot of people aren't going to rank as high as I do, but I just think this ride is pure fun, and I love indoor coasters, so I really just enjoy this experience. This is Van Helsing's factory at Movie Park Germany. So this is a Gerstlauer bobsled coaster, but it features a lot more thrills than the other coasters of this model. There's actual airtime, and the whole thing feels really paced and out of control, especially in the dark. This might also have the single strongest lateral moments of any coaster in Germany. You enter these switchback turns in pitch darkness, and they pin you to the side. They feel a little wider than Wild Mouse turns, so they're actually comfortable, but they really throw you, and it's super out of control. Halfway through the ride, you go up a lift hill, and then you launch upward, and then you do some more twists and turns. And overall, it's just a great ride, and there's a lot of airtime, and I had so much fun on this. Definitely an underrated coaster, and by far my favorite coaster at Movie Park Germany. Next up, we're going to talk about one of the most shocking coasters I've ever ridden. And when they designed this ride, I really don't think they intended the back car experience to be as out of control as it is. So this is Colorado Adventure, and on paper this just looks like a mine train. But this ride in the back car is so out of control. There's actual airtime, there's no seat divider, so you slide all over the place. And the second section of this ride, where you go in total darkness, is seriously one of the most out of control feeling things ever, and I think it's the most out of control feeling ride at Phantasialand. I love this thing to bits, and I had so much fun on it, and every time I visited Phantasialand, this comes in as one of my favorite rides in the park, so highly recommend this one, and yeah, definitely check this out when you go to Phantasialand. Alright, so now we're entering the top 4, and before I start, I just want to say, the top 4 coasters in Germany are really, really elite. They all make my top 20 overall. I love these rides. So, one of these coming in at 4 or 3, you know, it's pretty much similar to me, you know, like, it's really not much of a difference. It's kind of just nitpicking little things. But the next 4 of these rides are all fantastic. So, starting off at number 4, we have Voltron. So this is the first Mock Ride Striker coaster, and it really feels like a Frankenstein of all coasters. Like, there's just so many different types of elements thrown in there, and it really does a bit of everything. The camelbacks on this ride are really good, and I love the stall. The stall has Batman Gotham City Escape vibes. It really throws you around. So, yeah, lots of good camelbacks and good inversions in the beginning, and it starts with a beyond vertical launch, so the launch goes right into an inversion, which is really cool. So that's an awesome start. So there's 2 nitpicks I have with this ride that prevent it from being in the top 3. One is I don't like the stop in the middle of the ride. I wish there was a way it just kind of went right into the second half. I feel like the whole turntable part kind of takes a long time and is a little pointless. And then my other nitpick is I really don't like the violent bunny hills entering the mid-course in the second half. I find them really uncomfortable. They're just too abrupt and they kind of hurt. It feels like it's just punching my gut in a bad way. But the rest of the ride is really great. I love the camelback after the top hat, and the Outer Bank turn is just fantastic. So it's really just these little hills entering the mid-course that I'm not a fan of. And I love the ending, how it gets really close to the water. And you have a lot of positive G's in this section, which is really cool. So this ride has a lot of forces that are very diverse. So definitely a big fan of this coaster. This next coaster might not have height on its side, but it provides an experience like no other. With 2 powerful launches taking you up to over 70 miles per hour, Taron is just a special ride. There's no other way to put it. Both launches are phenomenal, and this ride has a lot of cool airtime hills that combine laterals into it. The first one really stands out to me as you get sustained laterals as you head down the hill. There's also a lot of tight snaps that do the same thing, and my body flies to the side. The one complaint I have with this ride is that each end of each half starts to kind of lose its pacing. In the first half it doesn't bother me as much. Towards the second half, towards the end, there's like an airtime hill where it kind of fakes you out and you think you're going to get airtime, but you really don't get any airtime over it. But I prefer this over Voltron because the great airtime moments it does have, I would take anything over on that ride. So Taron is really an experience like no other. The environment is just amazing. And yeah, I love this ride. Definitely one of the best coasters in Germany and in Europe. The next coaster on this list is what I would consider to be the king of airtime. The legendary Expedition G-Force at Holiday Park, now known as Plopsaland, Germany. Before we even talk about the camelbacks on this ride, we need to talk about that insane first drop. Back left seat gives one of the strongest lateral ejector moments of all time. The first 2 camelbacks on this in particular are just incredible with how long they sustain the powerful airtime. The middle section gets a lot of flack from enthusiasts, but I actually really like this section. It gives a different flavor from the rest of the ride with more of a twister coaster feel, and it really allows you to feel the speed of the ride. The 4 hills at the end are very powerful, and the first 2 particularly feel very rapid fire as they happen right after each other. These aren't just quick buddy hops either, these are full sustained camelbacks. If you're looking for the most powerful airtime out there, this one is definitely for you. What a great ride, definitely a must-do in Europe. So before we get to the number 1 spot, I want to give a few honorable mentions. So these coasters are really good, and they came close to making this list, but they just didn't quite make the cut. So the coasters that made this list, I feel like they do something that kind of makes them stand out from all other coasters and be like, you know, there's nothing quite else like this ride. And these coasters are very good, but they didn't quite do that. So I'm going to list off what the names of them, and what I like about them, and what they did just to not quite make the list, but still definitely deserve a mention, because these would be number 18, 17, and 16. So first off, we have Nessie. So this is an old Schwarzkopf looper, and I really like these rides. It only has 1 loop, but there's some very strong airtime moments, particularly off the second turnaround. There's a really good ejector moment. And the Helix does have decent laterals. I just wish the coaster was longer. Another one that just missed the list was Hall's Uberkopf. While this Vekoma STC does have great pacing and inversions and really good terrain use, it just kind of feels like a weaker version of Fianna Force, another Vekoma STC in Ireland. And it doesn't really do anything to make it stand out compared to that ride. And I feel like the other coasters that made this list have better standout moments. The last one is Flug der Dämonen. So this is another great ride, but it's a B&M wing coaster. You know, it has a lot of standard elements, and the inversions are good, but it just wasn't unique enough to crack the top 15 in the country for me. Alright, so coming in at number 1 on this list is the Schwerteskarnen at Hansa Park. Where do I even start with this one? The theme of this ride is just so cool, and it really combines the best of theming and thrills. The theme of this coaster is based off a real castle in Sweden, a real tower in Helsingborg, and I was actually able to visit it in 2024. I find this type of theming much more interesting and impactful than the IP stuff we get here in America, and I really wish there was more coasters with themes like this. This coaster features a one-of-a-kind backwards freefall element down the vertical lift hill that causes you to feel like you're sliding out of your seat. The first drop is fantastic, and it has a great combination of strong ejector airtime and laterals. The first giant inversion gives a violent combination of laterals and airtime. Whether you're sitting in the back or front, it will depend on if it's stronger when you're entering it or exiting it. After that, you enter the lateral double down, and this is a violent double down that twists to the side, left and right, and you get 2 moments of violent laterals. You then enter some more turns that really put on the sustained laterals and whip you to the side. Then halfway through the ride, you rocket up a camelback, so you're pinned to the side from the turn, and then you hit the camelback, and then you launch upward, and the forces just change instantly, which is a really cool feeling. This is then followed by kind of the one part of the ride that kind of lets its foot off the gas. You have these milder twists and turns that are a little higher over the pathway, but they're still really fun. And then at least it returns to form because you have a great ejector hill entering the brake run. And then there's 2 really cool surprises indoors. You do one final inversion in the dark, and then there's this turn that's totally unbanked, so you get one last dose of really violent laterals because the way of the turn is profiled. It almost feels like a wild mouse turn. So that's a really cool ending. So I love this coaster. The thing that makes it so special is it just puts immersion to the next level. It has the best build up to any drop of any ride. The laterals on this thing are just so violent, and the combination of that with the strong airtime and the amazing story of King Medved, and you just have such a special ride. This is a real winner. It's not only my favorite coaster in Germany, it's my favorite in all of Europe. It's crazy that Gerstlauer made a ride this good, because it really is miles better than everything else they've done. Alright, so that was my top 15 coasters in Germany. So I know some of these opinions aren't the most popular, but this is just the rides that I had the most fun on. You know, ranking coasters is really subjective, so what some people think is going to be the best is not what I'm going to think is the best. And you know, you might agree with me on some things, and you might not agree with me, and I'd love to hear what you agree with and what you don't agree with. Because yeah, there are some notable coasters in Germany that didn't make this list, like Fly is a good example. You know, I'm really not a fan of that coaster. I find it very uncomfortable on my stomach, and by the end of the ride, it causes my stomach to cramp up, and I really don't think the first half is very exciting. So, that doesn't rank high for me, but you know, that would make some people's number 1. So yeah, everyone has different opinions on these things. So, don't take my opinions too seriously. I just hope you guys enjoyed the video. And yeah, stay tuned for more videos like this. I plan to do more top 10 coasters for other countries I've visited, and I could do some of the states here in America too if you guys are interested in that. So yeah, stay tuned for more videos like this, and please subscribe and share the video with your friends. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for more coaster content here soon on Coaster Visuals.